we're going to do something for us, and if some of y'all like it, that's great too. That's cool. I want to read it and talk about it a little bit. Is that two of them?
Yeah.
Okay. This was a song, because I want to try to provide a little environment with the music as extra media to talk about the process that we all got to go through, maybe more than once. We've alluded to the idea that if the stuff ain't in your face, you can't do nothing about it, and you'll never get through it. I wrote down a little line last night. I don't remember exactly how it went, but it's like the stuff we flee, the things, the energy, the fears, the shame, the sadness that we flee contain the very doorway to our freedom. Does that make any sense? That's the way we're looking for, and we're searching and searching and searching, lies in that stuff we're running from. And that stuff will pursue us till death. We'll either die or we will turn and encounter it, be transformed by it, and find freedom. There is no other way. There is no other way. You can't have enough women, you can't have enough drugs, you can't be religious enough. You know, all that other stuff will leave us. It'll distract us. We'll gradually grow older and uglier and broker. And then every once in a while something will happen and we'll wake up and go, how the hell did I get here? Has anybody ever happening? You know? At least once every 3-4 years. 3-4 months. And sometimes it's like, have you ever played ping pong and put the ball in the paddle and you're bouncing it back and forth, and then you move the paddles closer and it just starts going. You know, because early on those events will happen very far apart. Y'all know what I'm talking about? And then this will happen, and this will happen, this will happen, this will happen, this will happen, and it pops out, and then the blue lights, woo, woo, woo. Yeah. Right? And that process happens over and over and over and over again. And it happens because, not because we're bad, not because we're whatever, it's because we are trying to live in a reality that can't exist. We're trying to be alive without living in where life is. Life is in the stuff that's calling to us. So many times we have bad feelings or whatever, and some y'all may know people that when you get to feeling bad, you go find a doctor to give you a pill, right? To make the symptom go away. Many times the symptom is God's calling. It is the Creator's refusal to allow us to drift in no life. Does that make any sense? And we categorize the bad feelings as though, or if you get doing right, some of y'all have been here, you got your life a little kind of going right, and all of a sudden it seems like shit's falling apart again. You know what I'm talking about? Or you start having dreams, or you start having memories, or your roommate pisses you off, or whatever, you know. And many times in our head, in the programming that we have, we define that stuff as though that's bad. I must be doing wrong. You understand what I'm saying? So what am I doing wrong? I just got Crisco on my forehead at Bethel the other night, and I spoke in tongues or whatever for the first time, and it was all great. And 2 days later, I wanted to cut my wrist. Anybody? Okay. And I would encourage you to maybe consider, not always, but many times, when those symptoms are upon us, or those feelings are upon us, it's not because we're weak, it's because we're actually strong enough to deal with them. I've dealt with so many people that have been sexually, physically, whatever, abused, and they may have lived 10 years, been a mama, been a daddy, and then all of a sudden, these symptoms, I know. He's been here 1,000 times. So that's why I don't want all that.
And after 10 years.
Okay, and after 10 years, life seems to be going good, and then all of a sudden these symptoms come upon them. And they feel like, or they interpret that as, well, I'm weak. And actually, they came because it's time now. They're strong enough now to deal with it. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. And I wrote this song, Lord, I don't know, years ago. And say your name.
Yeah.
Say your name, your full name.
Drew Massey.
Drew Massey and I and a couple other guys tried to get their finger in it, but they wouldn't commit. So, and we figured out some music for it, and then you did the most of the music. And he's going to sing it for us in a minute. Is that appropriate? Is that fair credit? Okay. Okay. And I'm going to read this for you, and I got something else I may read after a while. But this is real stuff. It's not just trying to make... For me, anyway, when I get in those places and have been through these desert places, writing, it helps. Now, this is called Talking to the Wind. And the wind... have you ever been in a place where it's like you're talking to the universe, talking to God, because nobody else can understand, and you never get an answer, but somehow it helps. You know, and the wind is portrayed as feminine in this, and I didn't consider it when I did it, but the wind spirit, the wind. Sophia that's all feminine. Okay, so when I'm thinking about the wind or the storms, I'm thinking about a feminine nature, not a woman necessarily. I might be wrong, but if I remember right, when I was a boy, all of the hurricanes were typically female names. And then all the LGBXYZ or whatever happened, they started naming them Fred and stuff too, so to be fair. You know, because Fred's throwing a fit now, you know. Hurricane Fred. So, and this, it was probably, 8 years ago, maybe. And some of y'all know that I used to have a fairly large business here, and things just crumbled, and probably spent a year or two just basically having a hard time just coming to work. You know, it was very hard for somebody to sit there, and I'd have to go, how does that make you feel? And I'd be wanting to throw up, but I'd have to, you know. Okay. I'm gonna stab your ass. You don't fucking know, you know. I'll tell you how it feels. You know. But there was some turn, I think, a lot of times when I write, it works out to be prophetic. It's not necessarily what's happening now, it's what I want or what's going to happen. But I kind of showed back up on the scene, and folks were like, oh, I thought you was dead, you know, kind of thing. So I said, I've been gone. There are just some things a man must do alone. So if they ask you where I've been, just look at them and grin and tell them he's been off talking to the wind. I've been talking to the... Oh, you done changed the words on me, ain't you?
No.
Huh?
Mm-mm.
Reaching out to...
I just changed the... I did add a little bit of a chorus right here.
Reaching out to a long lost friend?
Just this part right here. These are all yours though.
Okay.
I just gotta...
Okay. We'll have to have a meeting about that. Let's see. Okay. But anyway, I've been talking to the wind, telling her the places that I've been, and though she don't have much to say, I think I like it best that way, and I can feel her tender touch upon my skin. Have you ever been in a place in your life where you felt so disconnected, so isolated that just the wind was comfort? Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And I've been singing to the breeze, songs that have put me on my knees. And while she's yet to sing along, I know she understands my songs. And she feels me when it seems too hard to breathe. Because I've been gone, there's just some things a man must do alone. So if they ask you where I've been, just look at them and grin and tell them he's been off talking to the wind. And then I've been raging at the storm, standing at the place where hearts are torn. I look unblinking in her eyes and I can feel the anger rise. I remember strength. And in the fire I am reborn. So I've been talking to the wind. I've been gone. There's just some things a man must do alone. So if they ask you where I've been, just look at them and grin and tell them he's been off talking to the wind. And you're going to have to do that one way or another. It's not even a choice. You know? There's going to come a time when all the excuses, all the connections, all the mental stuff gets totally separated from just your being. Does that make sense? You know? Where you encounter yourself as solitary being under God. Because if not, and it's not like I did this is what happened. I don't encourage it. It sucks. But there is no other way. All the metaphors that we read, you know, the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus didn't want to go through all this stuff. He calls us to death, dying of self. Paul talks about that all over and over and over again. You have to die if you want to be reborn. You can't die if you're holding on to this or that or the other. Okay. So here, Hobbs, come sing for us. And I want you to listen to... I wonder if it's going to be too loud. Here, I'll just hold it. I'll hold it over here. Get your chair. And feel it. Close your eyes and listen.
singing to the breeze, songs that have put me down upon my knees. And while she's yet to sing along, I know she understands my songs. She fills me when it seems too hard to breathe. I've been gazing at the storm, standing at a place where hearts are home. I look unblinking in her eyes, and I can feel the anger rise. Remember strength, and it's a fire I am reborn. 'Cause I've been talking to the wind, I've been talking to the wind, reaching out to a long lost friend. I've been talking to the wind, I've been talking to the wind, searching for peace has no end. I've been gone. There are some things a man must do alone. So if they ask you where I've been, just look at them and grin. Tell them he's been talking to the wind. Oh, tell them he's talking to the wind. Tell them he's talking to the wind.
Thank you, baby. Very nice. Very nice, baby. Very nice. There's just some things a man must do alone.
I'm just thinking about that line.
And that's what that's about. And if you're going to really do this, whatever doing this means, there's going to be some similar pattern in your own. You know, you're going to have to, you will step out of that I'm a good boy, I'm a bad boy thing. And discover something that's a lot deeper, that's real, that'll last. The religious images of death, they use the idea of death for a reason. Death sucks. Death hurts. Death is frightening. And when I talk to you all about these old patterns that reoccur, the same conversations, the same type of people, the same stuff over and over and over again, that's what needs to die. But our anxiety many times kicks us over into that without knowing it. And we're back into that false way of being without having consciously made a choice, it seems. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? Okay. There's nothing wrong, because I pick at y'all about your volleyball or where you sit in class or whatever. It don't matter, really. Ultimately, it fits certain patterns, you know. How have you been since we did the dream thing?
Better than I was. I haven't had that dream anymore. I haven't really been able to remember anything I dreamed about since I've been gone.
But how are you?
I was fine until yesterday, and then I just like a mood came over me, and I couldn't figure out what it was at all. And I was just like down and in my 4 or 5 hours yesterday, and I still can't figure out what it was.
I mean, is it sad?
It was just, it was a mixture between being sad and disappointed and confused all at one time.
Resist the impulse to get out of that.
Kind of just went to sleep last night, and I woke up every morning.
Because without that stuff, there will be no change. That in there somewhere lies the doorway to your freedom, or to the next step anyway. Okay? That's your friend. It's real. It's realer than arguing on the porch or talking about past gangster activities or volleyball or, you know, being mad at the Johns or whatever. 'Cause it's the same old shit. I mean, it's high school stuff. We're mad at the vice principal because he gave one boy 1 day and gave me 3 days. Same shit, man. I can't believe, you know. I mean, it's the same old stuff, just put in another place. And those unexplored areas in your life, that's where you're going to find the doorways to your freedom. Does anybody have an idea or a thought about this so far? That you want to say or ask?
What do we do when we get in those kind of areas? Because I do that at least once or twice a week. I've had the same thing kind of happen to me, and I try and get out of it. What is this? Is it supposed to say we're not supposed to try, or we should?
Have you talked to him?
Josh? I don't know about that. I haven't talked to anybody about it. I try and,
Well,
I don't know, hide it, I guess, because I don't want to be walking around pissed off, you know?
well, anger always is not the primary thing. Anger is a response to something deeper. Sadness, shame, fear, something. Because it feels better to be, what do we say? It feels better to be pissed off than pissed on. You know, so we and anger is good if a saber-toothed tiger is chasing you. You know? Anger is good if somebody's trying to shit in your mouth. Because that's a response to a real threat. Okay? Like, oh, you know. Anger is an appropriate response if somebody is effing with the poor people with their money. And so Jesus made a whip and beat their ass with it. I doubt he went in there going, hey. Maybe he did, I don't know. I doubt that he took him real serious, you know, if he wasn't angry. But more times than not, our anger gets triggered by stuff that's not even a real threat. Who cares what some dude around here says? You know? I mean, last month they was sucking dick for crack. And now they're telling you don't say shit because Jesus don't like it. You know? Or stealing from their mama or whatever. You know, at least if you're sucking dick, you're performing a service. That might be your ministry. And I talk big to make a point. I'm not, you know, whatever. Don't answer this. Just consider who you're talking to, who you're hanging out with. And is that where you want to be in a month? Okay, or is that where you want to be in the end of your 90 days? Because whoever you let inside, whoever you hang with, whoever you're getting feedback from, that's where you're going to be. You know? But in the end, it ain't even really about that. It's about this solitary thing. You going into the desert of that sadness, of that shame. Because you talked last week a little bit, didn't you?
A little bit.
Before Jesus started performing miracles, he went out into the desert and looked the devil in the eye, all by his lonesome. And even though he had people around him, very often he went off by himself to get away from them. Right? And at the very end, even though they were around him, they abandoned him. He was still by himself. Because nobody could help him make that decision that he needed to make. Nobody could feel what he felt for him. So often we get a feeling and we try to, when we go talk to somebody, and it's like our energy, this feeling gets into them. You ever seen people? Huh? You know, and but it's not even conscious manipulation. But have you ever seen this work where retard 1 gets mad at retard 2, and there's anxiety here between them, and so retard 1 goes to find retard 3 and tells them how bad retard 2 is. And this one ends up all mad. This one's good. And now there's an issue here. And it just goes, y'all know what I'm talking about? I mean, that's basically all gossip is. It is, because the scriptures, if we say we believe them, what do they say to do when we have a problem with someone? Go to them. You know? But that very rarely happens. Or if we go to them, you mother, not in, because that's not real. Because if I have a problem with retard 2, it's probably because I felt threatened, I felt hurt, I felt something. But I'm not talking about my threat that I felt or the hurt that I felt.
You're talking about emotions.
I'm in my anger and how dare you? Because that's not the real deal. Does that make sense? Okay.
Emotions are just manifestations of what's really going on beyond that.
And sometimes they're disconnected from what's really going on. Because I can get pissed off if retard XYZ says something and they wasn't even thinking about me. You know, I'm not even in reality. Or if somebody has a different opinion of me or whatever than me, if I'm getting offended, why? You know, I may not even have a real position on what we're talking about. Because I hadn't thought about it. You know what I'm saying? And all of that stuff can provide cool energy. And I had a professor in seminary that wrote a book on anger. And Lord, this was 86, 87. How many years ago that was? 30 years ago? 30 years ago. So I'll try to remember some of it. But he talked about anger as idol detectors. Okay? And he wrote it up something like this, that the self, you know, you may have heard it come out of a particular kind of denomination and you've heard certain things all your life, but not y'all, but other people, never really studied it. You know, it's somebody said thing. And then retard 7 says something and it kicks up this, y'all know what I'm talking about? Okay. So something if you stop and reflect, you've really not spent a whole lot of time trying to perceive or comprehend that thing. There's another idol. You know? So anyway, I'll leave that alone. And when it's there, when you're feeling angry, there's nobody here threatening you in a real way.
A lot of times it's not anything anybody did. I don't know what caused it. Maybe, I don't know.
And whatever it is happened 10, 20, 30 years ago.
Probably.
So it's not even real. It's thoughts. And it's strongholds would be a scriptural idea. You know, when it talks about pulling down strongholds, those strongholds are your idol. You're giving them power. They become your God. You know. If any of y'all ever done cognitive behavioral therapy, it's the same stuff in different languages. It's trying that we have all these ideas and these pre-programmed responses and the biological, the emotional stuff that go along with these patterns, but they're not necessarily real. You know. And so your anger can be a signal or a detector, or it's like a red light going off on your dashboard that says check your oil. You know, y'all ever had the oil light go off and get pissed off at it? Shit! That's just me, you know. And the oil light's trying to do me a favor. And I'm mad at the oil light. The oil light's trying to keep my engine from blowing up. And rather than going, thank you, God, for my oil light, I go, shit! You know? And your anger could function like that for you. And rather than getting some black tape and putting it over the oil light, and go, shit, I'll fix that shit. It ain't gonna bother me no more till my engine blows up again. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It's actually, like I was trying to allude to, think of your anger as God's oil light. You know? And again, if you wake up and somebody's you see a rectum hovered over your mouth.
Anger.
Yeah. That's a real threat to your sense of self. You know. And appropriate action, and that would be a righteous thing. Because apparently ass whoopings are God's will sometimes. You know? What would Jesus do? He might whoop your ass. You know, that's in the continuum. He just didn't pet sheep all the time, you know. Hey, how y'all doing? Is my robe dirty? You know. I don't. Whatever Jesus was, it wasn't that. You know.
I said this last night, and I guess I'll say it again just for the guys here. I think that when we're talking about self and looking inward, if you're really doing that, like in those moments he's saying to embrace, if you really stop and do that, in my experience, there becomes a real vulnerability that you feel that comes along with it, because this is something that I'm resting in that doesn't make me feel comfortable at all. And you become really vulnerable. And I said that last night, and that's not a feeling that I enjoy because of what I've identified with in my past, of who I was, and all of that. So I think that if you're doing it the right way, when I'm doing it the right way, I become feeling very vulnerable. And it's not like a 5 or 10 minute thing. I mean, you have to really, this is I mean, I guess you could get to where you could do it like that, but it doesn't come to me like that. It doesn't even come to me in hours. Sometimes it takes me days to get, you know, because those feelings will come and go. Feelings come and go, but when they do come, you have to explore that. It's not like I'm in a state of meditation all day long, but, you know, there'll be something somebody says that'll fire something off in my head or something that I get aggravated with or something, you know, and I'll, instead of outwardly acting, which I still do sometimes, some of you guys know, but I'm trying to reflect inwardly, you know, really try to explore that, I think is the right word. And if you do that, you become very fucking vulnerable because you don't know what the fuck is there. Because you always went outward instead of inward. And that shit is scary as fuck in my mind and in my deep, deep self. That shit scares the fuck out of me.
And I would say that our risk, our vulnerability hasn't changed. We've always been vulnerable, you know. And so, and that scared us. So we created this false self around to feel protected. But we've always been vulnerable. You know, when you were gangbanging or whatever, you actually were more vulnerable to people with blue lights on their car. That finally, if it took 12 of them, they finally got your ass. You know?
Yeah.
But the reality of our vulnerability, I mean, a meteor could hit us. We can somebody run a stop sign, somebody screw us one way or another, you know. But when we step outside of that stuff, it feels very, very scary. And when it feels very frightening like that, we require something in us has to change. And we understand our need for grace, finally. And God's goodwill toward us, or protection, or the universe, or however you want to think about that. Does that make any sense what I'm saying? Yeah. And the reality, whatever that is, I would say we've always been vulnerable. That's why we were acting retarded. Our real self, you know. And I don't know, when a butterfly finally comes out of a cocoon, it's very vulnerable for a minute. Right? It's soft, its wings have to dry before it can fly. You know? Or if you've planted some seeds in your house and put them under the grow lights, some of y'all have some tomato plants. Okay. And if you're going to plant them outside, you take them out for an hour or two so they can harden off, and then you bring them back in, and then, you know, and that's what's going on with you, baby. You know, because eventually some eternal stuff will evolve around that feeling of vulnerability, and you're going to be more in line with what's real. Anyway, because let me put it this way, maybe on a biological level, there is, y'all ever heard, and I just heard this from somebody, I hadn't done the experiments myself, but it seems to, it's just a metaphor anyway. Do you know why they have 30-day programs?
No, why?
Because they were doing, this is the rumor I heard, they were studying how the brain works, and neural pathways are formed, and we can't go in and delete our files unless we want to. Well, we can, but we'll become schizophrenic. You know. And long story short, what they discovered that we're doing this brain work sometime is that the only way to change a thought process is to not use it. Okay? And because when we have a biological or we experience perceive a threat, we have certain programs that click in our head. When those programs get clicked, there are certain biological processes that go on. If you think about when you find yourself in an angry position, you didn't go just from here to there. There was a process that led up to it. You know? And that's part, because you'll have a thought, you'll get angry, you'll have a thought, and then my guess is, baby, there's similar themes that you kind of ruminate on over and over and over again. Right? And another way of looking at the meditation stuff is that you're remembering that you forgot, you're being still and stepping out of that same old, on a biological level. Doesn't have to do nothing to do with God necessarily, whatever. Because when I was a little boy, my grandma and grandpa had a little house and they had a barn out here.
Is this a true story?
This is true. This is true. Okay. Because my granddaddy was a bootlegger and a cowboy. Louisiana. Yep. And he had 2 horses, one named Rebel, one named Satan. Okay. And my granddaddy, he was about my size. And he'd get, we was big little kids, and he'd go, here. And he'd pick a piece of Johnson grass and put it in their mouth and go, stand over there. And he'd get his 10-foot bullwhip and he'd pop that grass out of our mouth. And we thought that was the coolest thing. You know, I still got all my eyes and stuff, you know. But he was that kind of dude, you know. He'd do tricks, making the horses rear up and all that stuff. He could rope, and he'd make us run through the yard, and he'd rope us, you know. That's what's wrong with me. But they had, you know how in grandma yards there's footpaths get formed over a period of time? And there was a path in the yard around the house, because that's where we'd run, you know. And we didn't get a landscape architect or anything in there to design that. Just over 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, there were certain pathways that people went on. You know? And at any point, if we had decided to take another path, eventually this grass, it would have grown up. You know? But because the nature of humans and stereotypes, we typically don't want to reinvent the wheel every day. We just kind of go. You know? Has anybody ever gone to your favorite fast food place and go, well, I want something different today because I get the same thing?
Yeah.
You know, and you get in a line and you're looking and there's 50 different things and you're second in line and the tension starts building. It's like, oh my God, you know.
Give me a number 4.
Give me a number, you know, I get a number 1 at Jack's and with a Dr. Pepper, and you know, I used to know how much it cost till I started eating over here for free. And that is about a hamburger. You know? We many times get in the same old. So, there was another path that come out to the barn and the horses, and it went like this, which didn't make any sense to me. I thought about this in my 30s or 40s, I remembered. And I was going, why? That doesn't even make sense. You know? And I got thinking about it, and I remembered there was an old just piece of stump here that had rotten out. You know? And even though there was no tree there anymore for years and years and years, we stayed on the same path. Didn't even make sense. You know? And a lot of times in our thought processes, it's like that. We just go because number 4, number 1, number whatever. And my grandma's been dead since the 80s. I hadn't been back to the house in 30, 40 years, however long it's been. And they're no longer, I'm guessing, there are no longer any paths. And they're, because the non-use of them, they grew over. And it's very similar to the way that we think, that we react. We can't go, change my thought, because that just makes it worse. What he's discovering, and some of y'all are discovering, Stuart, is that it's not about getting a shovel, and it's about not going there no more. So when they're talking about meditation and that kind of stuff, it's not a spooky necessarily kind of thing. It's just a sitting still while that stuff comes and not jumping into the same old stuff. Because there's a reason you jump that way, and it was probably valid when you started doing it. May have to do with mama, daddy, weird Uncle Harold, whatever the issues was.
All of the above.
Yeah, it was valid and it was real, but over a period of time, that's the path we take. You know? But you were 4 then, now you're 40. It's different circumstance. You could beat Uncle Harold's ass. Or whatever. Or you go, Daddy, no, you're a retard. You know, while you're hopping around on your one leg and shit. I'm gonna beat your ass, boy. I ain't making fun of you, Daddy. Yeah, I am.
He's a piece of shit.
Yeah, well, you can make roses with him.
Yeah.
You know.
I know where he was at.
Does that make sense? I mean, when we're talking about all this spiritual, mystical, meditative stuff, if that feels just weird, that's cool. Think about it as you're letting the grass grow back up and you're starting a new path. You know? Because sometimes so much of this stuff is esoteric language in this, and it's almost like you have to learn a whole new religion or something, and religion's not going to get you where you want to be. You know? Be still and know. Be still and let the grass grow back up. Be still and feel what is. And it's not a one-time deal that you're going to do it and okay, everything's great. It's more like this is how it works. That's real, that's nature, that's how you plant a tomato seed, and for what days or weeks or whatever, depending on the weather, it's nothing, and all of a sudden, boop, it pops up. And then, if y'all ever planted gardens and stuff? Mm-hmm. And I did one on my own when I was 13, 14, and I had a hand plow, because I thought it was cool. And I planted all my seeds and stuff. And 3 days later, I'm going, I wonder if I doing anything. So killed them. You know. But if the ones that I didn't kill popped up, and there was nothing, then I forgot about it and came back, and they were this high. You know. And they were this high, and they were this high, and then finally some flowers came out. There was nothing I could do to make the tomatoes grow faster. All I could do was fuck it up. That's all I could do. And it's the same thing with us. There's nothing you can do to make you grow faster. All you can do is fuck it up, if you're doing it. Does that make sense? Because God created...
How do we fuck it up?
Huh?
How do we fuck it up?
Getting anxious, doing the same old, getting back in the same thought processes, getting out of reality. Reality is right now, not 20 years ago, last week, or after a while. or 3 months from now, or 2 weeks from now, or after lunch. Because if I'm living on the volleyball court right now, I'm not even alive. And I'm not living in reality anyway. Right now there's a certain humidity level in here, there's a certain temperature, there's certain lights, there's certain sounds, there's, you're having a certain biological experience. And many times we don't even pay attention to our body unless it's hurt. When you get in your 50s, especially if you played football all your life, you're more aware of your body than you were when you were 17. But not because you're all mystical, it's because that shit hurts. I mean, they used to teach us to tackle with our head down. It'll mess up your neck. So, and it's like, and the thing to think about is this place here, this place here, and this place here, many times feels the same. Do you understand what I mean? I'm in the bottom again. I ain't no good. Okay? But that's not real. The reality is this place and this place are very different experiences. Some of y'all been here more than once. You're not who you were when you came the last time. Hopefully. I mean, my dream boy, last week he had one of these. And he just described some of this stuff now. And so he sits still, do that thing, and in a minute, without him even doing it, he's going to have another spurt, growth spurt. And same with you, baby. We get new awareness or whatever, and we kind of try to make sense of it. And we learn something, we understand something new, and then we're going to encounter some resistance. We're going to encounter, or it feels like resistance, but I think, can you imagine a seed being scared to die?
All it knows is to grow. I don't think I understand what you mean.
In order for a seed to do what it is, it has to get in the dark by itself. I mean, that's one of the principles. The seed has to die in order. It's in the scriptures. What you develop, the personality, the false stuff that you developed over these years, think of it as whatever the outer covering is on the seed. It's got you here. It's kept you safe. But in order to become what you are, I mean, God didn't just make seeds. The seeds are just part of the process. The purpose of the seed is to make more seeds and go through that whole deal. And that dying for us, the dying of the false personality, the splitting of the shell so that we put down roots in the real, in the earth, and then reach for the sun, that's part of what was going on with him. That's part of what's going on with you. You're thinking differently in the last couple of weeks, I'm guessing, than you have most of your life, if I feel you. Okay? And death hurts. Death is scary. Death is solitary, like he sang about. You have to do it. Can't nobody do it for you. God can't do it for you. You have to sit still long enough to break open. And you're finding nourishment from places you didn't even know existed. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do now.
You didn't even have a clue that it was possible. Because your shell was Mr. Gangster Guy or whatever. And that protected you, kept you, I mean, you can eat a tomato seed. My father-in-law, I have a deer camp, and they have a place they go shit, and tomatoes would come up every year. out of the shit. You're the tomato that come up out of your daddy, baby. See? Yeah. To produce good fruit.
So
I mean, the seed protects the life. It's hard to hurt a seed. I mean, birds eat blackberries and shit all over the place, and blackberries come up all over the place. But until the seed dies, it's not going to become what it was created to be, or in part of that process, so to speak.
the part in the song, the line in the song, it says, where did you get away by yourself? How's the line go?
I've been gone, there's just some things a man must do alone.
And then after that,
So if they ask you where I've been, just look at them and grin and tell them.
yeah, I mean, so you got to do it alone, and then, you know, to me, when I hear that line, like, look at them and grin, you know. So I got something to smile about, you know what I mean?
It's all right.
You know?
It's okay. You don't understand where I've been, that's fine. I'm at a different place now. And I wrote something, when was it, Wednesday? I'm going to read this.
Yeah, read that.
Okay, and this is your supposed teacher. I wrote this Wednesday, he's having some difficult times, in a sense. But my history has taught me, my faith has taught me that this is the process. And though I may have a season that is not fun, that feels like this, I have faith that this is coming. You know? What, baby?
Do we always, sometimes, or never predict the you know what I'm saying?
Like when it happens, or what?
Just when you're there, I mean, there's something that lets you, that you go back down to that place, so I mean, it'd be awesome if we could just stay there.
Yeah, but that's not real. Because it's just basic crap. I mean, I created the circumstances that I'm dealing with now. And I wasn't screwing children or nothing like that. It's just financial stuff. And a lot of it I didn't have anything to do with, it just happened, you know. And it's IRS junk, it's not that big a deal. But my experience of it right now has gotten me to a different place. Without this anxiety, I wouldn't be thinking, feeling. And it's just another, but the resolution of this issue, whatever happens, is the very thing that I need to address. That's where my freedom lies. Does that make any sense, what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So if they get me and they say I've been screwing kids on TV, it ain't right. So just... And a lot of it is probably my own imaginations, and it's rooted to a core temerity, fear in the little boy that was me, because of the way I was raised, in my situation, and my last name's Dick, so that goes into it too. Is that I'm very shy. I'm kind of timid.
Bullshit.
I mean, that's how I popped out anyway. And I'm kind of thoughtful. Most of my life I've been melancholy. You know, I'm an introvert, I'm not an extrovert. I learned some extrovertness. You know, you'd be glad you didn't hear my first sermon or you'd have been embarrassed for me. You know, oh, bless him, you know. So this is called Now is the Season of Knowing. And I've come face to face with my own cowardice. Stark and real, it has lived for decades, hidden at the core of me. Okay. I've come face to face with my own. Does anybody understand how? Do you have a core that is afraid when it comes down to it? Okay. And I thought a lot of this was mastered, and then it hit me in the face again. I'm an old dude. Or maybe I'm just crazy, I don't know. But I've come face to face with my own cowardice. Stark and real. It has lived for decades, hidden at the core of me. The talents and skills I have honed, now exposed for what they are in the light of what has come. Forever it seems I have developed defenses to hide and secure the timid self. In the arena of thought, philosophy, religion, politics, I am a warrior and champion. But even now I shrink before the powers and principalities of this world. I'm exposed, vulnerable, panicked, and yes, afraid. Yet, even in the midst of the chaos of this crucible, there is stillness. A soundless voice whispers, wait, be still, allow the fire to burn off the dross. Watch and see the path appear before you. It will manifest one halting step at a time. It says to me, time for believing is done. Now is the season of knowing. For without resistance, there can be no flight. If there is no obstacle, climbing is impossible. Amidst the fear is where love abides. At the ends of terrible grief, laughter arises. Stillness is learned when anxiety is the guide, not the foe. For what is now will reveal what is needed in its time. And I will ride the waves that come, and they will ferry me to the new land which awaits. You know, it's part of it.
Without resistance, there can be no flight.
See?
Like that without an obstacle is impossible to climb. Like that makes sense.
And that's what we're talking about with a song. That's what we're talking about with your feelings. You can't go those bad feelings are the resistance that provides lift to an airplane. Those negative things are the mountain that raises you up as you climb it. Is that, you know what I'm saying? Anxiety is not something to be got rid of. Anxiety is a great teacher. Without the anxiety, you can never learn to be still. You know? Be still and know. It doesn't matter what comes against us. That can become the very thing that takes us where it'll be the wave that we can ride all the way to the next place. Does this make sense, children? Okay.
That's a good point. The verse says, not be still and believe that I'm going to be still and know.
Be still and know that.
That's what I was just thinking about too, because almost like believing for me is like we were talking about a couple weeks ago, trying is failing. To me, in this essence, what we're talking about right now, believing is almost trying to me. But knowing is totally, believing and knowing are in the same arena, but knowing is so much more powerful.
And they're not separate. It's a process.
Right, they're in the same arena, but they're...
Because I can believe God's going to supply all my needs.
Right.
It's a very different thing to have God supply all my needs and live into that. And
Walk in that and experience that.
you know that I know that. Hopefully. You know. But it's in that tension between those. Because it's not that you just sit and write. I mean, I went and talked to some of the best lawyers in the area. I've been doing research on this stuff, and I have certain beliefs about it. You know? I also have certain beliefs about the system. I don't believe that God runs it. You know? I think there's some rogue agencies at work in the beast system that are not in line with God's idea of free and abundance. You know, they're more about slavery and telling a lie. Okay. Then in the tension of how do you be in the world yet not of it, and all that energy is going to do something in me. I don't know what it is. Because don't worry, I'm not doing anything illegal or whatever. You know, I think that the agency is. So, I also know.
Saying there one reluctant step. What was it? One relevant step at a time.
Watch and see the path appear before you. It's manifested one halting
That's it.
step at a time.
Yeah.
And I don't know about y'all, but I've never had God go, go do this. It's like the steps come as they come. It's the idea of Abraham who goes out not knowing where he is going that reckons him righteous. It's not that he went. When he was called, what's it saying? When he was called, Abraham went out not knowing where he was going, and that reckoned him righteous. And that doesn't mean just be stupid. It means walking, existing, acting, refraining from action from that other place where I take the money back, not because I'm good, but because I don't want the bad energy. It's not congruent with who I am. And I don't mean bad energy like we're all hippies or nothing. I'm just, whatever all that is. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
That was actually a selfish action to take the money back.
Right.
It's selfish in the righteous way. You're protecting yourself. You don't want to sell your soul for $3.36. That's kind of cheap.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But in the past, you would have done that without thinking about it. Maybe.
Yeah.
And the knowing can only come in the midst of all this stuff. Because if you'll start sitting with it, it will slowly begin to lose its power. And it'll come, but you'll go, oh yeah, that's that thing. Okay. Me personally, in my imagination, I'm thinking of people with M16s and stuff. Not really that bad, but yeah. And because so many times we live in, again, I don't think the system is congruent with what God wants for us. I think it's ultimately false and it's slavery. Whatever version of it the Democrat, the Republican, the whatever.
I think that's why Stabler's failing.
Well, many times the system will create chaos in order to come and provide a solution for the chaos. Come into the pens and we'll protect you. Bah. And then we'll, what do they do to the sheep? Shear them. You know, and if you look real tasty, we'll just eat you. You know. But there's a radical difference between me sitting up here talking this shit to y'all and now this is in my face. So believe now.
Let's see what you do with it.
Yeah, I might puss out, I don't know what I'll do. But I know after talking to the legal people, I've adjusted some stuff and, you know, be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. You don't go pick a fight you ain't got to fight, necessarily. I mean, Jesus, I'm not Jesus, but he is my brother. Told a lot of folk, shh, you know, he'd do stuff and he'd go, don't go be telling everybody.
Yeah.
Don't be telling, just shh. You know? And then when the time came, he basically said, no, this is who I am. You say that, this is who I am. Caesar is not God. America ain't God. You know? Neither is Nick Saban.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Chase now, Dean!
That's horrible. That is horrible. It's true.
I think they're trying to get the redneck scared, but there's one picture of this drunk dude had a Bud Light and he was going to the guy. It was funny. And I bet they all went out and bought 8 more guns apiece.
Yeah, I bet that's so spiked.
Assault rifle market went up.
Yep. So, anyway, boys, thank y'all.
Thank you.